not a country that was even thought of as a country that was going to make it back. And in 1 year, we're the hottest country. We are right now the hottest country anywhere in the world. So that's my message.
this is this is politically brutal. This is brutal. We know that he doesn't know how to handle this because Republicans are even saying this is one of the worst mistakes that he has ever made. And the interesting kind of conflict here is you can't both be a leader who is fully in control of everything and someone who says, I didn't know about it, I wasn't involved in it, I didn't do it, even though it was posted under my name. You've got to pick one. But Trump always wants every side of every issue.
Yeah, but see, unless you point that out to enough people, those points don't make any. Those points don't matter. It's just like, okay, that's great that you know this. That's great that you have observed this. But how many other people have picked up on that point? How many other people have picked up on that talking point? Because if that's not a point that is something that's in their head, right? That's not something that they recognize. Then it doesn't matter that that might be true or not. It's just like, okay, people are still going to overlook that because that's not something that they see. It's something that you see, and it's something that a few other people see, but not enough people see it. Those points don't stick, and they can't be those. He won't. None of those points will be addressed, and those are not things that can bother him because he can just talk around them. Again, he beats around the bush a lot. He does not ever address issues. He doesn't need to because he understands that if he beats around the bush long enough, that people will stop asking the questions, and that works.
Think back to 2015. What's your position on the issue of abortion? He goes, well, you got to punish the woman. Actually, we're not going to do that. Illegal, but some exceptions. You don't like his position today? Pick one tomorrow. That's always been Trump's tactic here. Fine.
Yeah, but like think about the Epstein thing. Like I said, he beat around the bush for a long time with that, and then he's like, okay, I will release the Epstein files, and they just redacted everything. It's just like, okay, well, why did they redact everything? It's like if you're expecting to get answers from the man, he's an expert at not answering questions. Like that has already been very clear. He is an expert at not answering questions. He is an expert at beating around the bush and not talking to a point directly. He'll talk around the point. He'll avoid the point. He'll say whatever he needs to do to not address the point, but he will never really talk about the point. He knows how to talk around things, whether it is obfuscating, going to a different point altogether, talking close enough to the point that it sounds like he's saying something that's addressing the point, but is not in any way related. And he just, like I said, he has different tactics. Like I said, what people don't seem to understand is that he has different tactics of talking around points. And it's because he's well practiced. It's not just, I avoid this. It's like if avoiding it doesn't work, let's talk around it. If talking around it doesn't work, then let's talk to it. I mean, I don't want to say talk to it. I mean, talk about it in a way that sounds like you're directly answering the question, but you're being so indirect that no information is actually conveyed, but it just sounds like it is a direct answer. And if you do that well enough, it can sound like their question was answered, and by the time the person realizes their question wasn't answered, they're on to the next question already. And it's just like, you didn't answer my question. It's like, yeah, I talked around it. It's like, well, why didn't you answer my question? It's like, why would I answer a question that I don't want to answer? And I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. He's able to talk around questions well enough that there could be a follow along process that makes it hard to follow along with. And so, in other words, the time it takes to process the answer usually is the time needed to escape the question. And it's just like, yeah, even if you're quick-witted, if he also is just as quick-witted, he can come up with answers that are just as maneuverable. It's hard to pin him because, again, the whole point of talking around questions is to make sure that no point sticks. Like, the whole point of him talking around certain topics is because he doesn't want any of those points to stand or to stay. So he talks around those topics in a way that those points don't stick, so they don't land, so they don't make him look guilty. Again, everyone's looking for a gotcha moment, and the gotcha moment is when you can pin somebody with enough questions that they look guilty. But the problem is he has been dodging guilt for years on end. So looking guilty is a hard thing to do for a man who doesn't have a conscience. And it's like, well, I mean, I can make him look guilty. Let me put it to you this way. If a person doesn't feel guilt, you can't make them look guilty because they don't feel guilty. You can't make a shameless man feel shame. And that's what you don't seem to understand. That's what a lot of people don't seem to understand. You cannot make a shameless man feel shame. You're not going to make someone who does not feel shame feel shame. You can try if you get enough facts in place and put out those things together. But even if you put all those things together, it doesn't mean he's going to take blame or take shame. It means he's going to avoid that and reframe it in a way that he doesn't take any blame and or shame. So when people understand that, it's just like you're trying to shame a man who doesn't feel shame. What you have to do is play his game. So the talking points that he keeps trying to avoid, you have to bring back and put back in his face. And he'll either say, I didn't say that, which of course he always says, but you have to have points that he himself has said. And you have to understand his tactics too. Because again, the thing that he avoids, you have to understand why he avoids it. Again, sometimes he just doesn't even speak to an issue. Again, so sometimes like, I'm not even going to address that, which, by the way, works. it is an effective tactic to be like, I'm not going to address that. Because you can say, I've already addressed it, or I don't need to address that right now, or that could be addressed at a later time. And it's almost like it's kicking the can down the road in a way that says, I don't think you're important enough to talk to, which that's also a good tactic, saying you're not worth my time talking to, or that's not even a question worth answering, where you kind of have this elitist point of view. It's just like, your question is so trivial, I wouldn't even answer that. And it's just like that. What do you mean? That's a legitimate question. Now they can give you the honor of answering that question, but they can also trivialize your question by saying, oh, that's so trivial, why would I even answer that? And what they're actually doing is saying, I'm not going to answer that because me answering that would make me look bad, but I'm not going to say that. Instead, what I'm going to say is that your answer is trivial to begin with, and that I don't think it's important enough to even address. And again, a lot of people don't know how to get around that because that's kind of disarming. It's like, how do I get around someone telling me that my question is not important enough to be asked? I mean, it's something that you have to, for one, familiarize yourself with as a tactic, because again, when you see that type of framing, you have to be able to reframe your question in a way that brings the importance to the table. Because if someone just says you're a child coming to the table interrupting the grown-ups, you're not going to be able to just say, this question isn't important. It's like, no, not now, little Billy. We have grown-ups are talking right now. That's basically what happened. You just got belittled in front of a whole crowd. And you're like, but this point is important. Yeah, it is important. But the whole point of belittling you is to delegitimize your question. I end up stopping and instead of pausing. Let's continue playing and see what's going on.
Trump asked, did you see that J.D. Vance, your vice president, got booed at the Olympics, and boy, was it brutal. And Trump goes, that's really weird. Everybody likes him.
They're doing a great job.
Did you see that the vice president got booed during the opening ceremony, though? What do you make of that sort of frosty? The vice president got booed during the opening ceremony. What do you make of that frosty?
No, I didn't see that. Is that true? Is that right?
Yeah.
It's surprising because people like him. Well, I mean, he is in a foreign country, in all fairness, but.
See, that's a good response too, because he was just like, oh, is that? He's not saying, oh, that's true, or he didn't get nervous or anything like that. He was just like, oh, that's what happened. Okay, well, I mean, is that true for real? One of the other things he'll do to really get a sticking point is he'll reaffirm a point. He'll say, this thing is true, and it's true, or I've done this thing, and we're the best nation in the world. He'll say things to complement what he's saying to reaffirm that point to make it stick more. And what that does is it solidifies that point all the much more. Again, when you repeat it once, you're saying this is the point that's legitimate. But if you compliment and reaffirm that point, looks like I truly believe this, then it doesn't seem like a lie. It seems like something that you truly believe. Whether or not it is something you truly believe, the language trick itself does that by reaffirming that point and saying, okay, I'll give you an example. When he was talking about the tearing down the Trump Kennedy Center, which is now the Trump Kennedy Center. It used to just be the Kennedy Center. He was saying, well, it's dilapidated, it needs to be fixed. You've seen it. And he just threw that little, you've seen it in there. And what that did, like on a psychological level, for a lot of people, is reaffirm, look at the conditions of it. You know it looks bad. Now, whether that's true or not, the point of saying it reaffirms that point, whether or not it's true. Doesn't matter if it is. It does something to make that point stick and seem more solid. And he does little language tricks like that to kind of edge on or bring on the legitimacy of what he's saying, even if it's an illegitimate, incorrect, falsity. Or like I think that was just redundant in his delivery. But yeah, even if it's something that's not true, if he reaffirms that is true, then it keeps that narrative alive in a way that's hard to combat because it's reaffirmed, even in a small moment.
He doesn't get booed in this country.
You know, Hard Rock is built on service. Minutes or less.
Trump's control over his administration is slipping very quickly. But more interestingly, as culturally MAGA is in serious decline, they continue to just insist we're more popular than ever. 99% approval rating, thank you, in polls that, of course, we can never find. He's losing his grip on the country. He's losing his grip on culture. And of course, he's also losing his grip on being able to remain even mildly coherent when he's talking.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He's saying that because repeating that narrative locks it in people's head. Even if that is not true, even though if that's not something that everyone's feeling, by perpetuating that narrative, he very much locks it in that, yes, this is what everyone's feeling, this is what everyone feels, and this is true for everyone. And again, people who might not even believe it, hearing that enough time locks it into the subconscious. Even for people who don't believe that necessarily, they've heard it enough times that it can start to become something that takes root. That is the whole point of repeating narratives. Repetition does a lot more. Oh, okay, I just went to a different page. Repetition does a lot more to help things take root and helps out foundations than people realize. One of the things that repetition does is it solidifies narratives. It solidifies talking points. That's why one of the things that Trump has been trying to do is convince everyone that everything's affordable. Even though that sounds ridiculous, stupid, dumb, something that can't be done, if he repeats it long enough, he can start to get some talking points that stick, that make people second guess whether everything's affordable in that. And he's like, oh, well, the stock market's doing great, or the economy is doing great, or he'll point to things that they can tangibly look at that can very much prove that everything's fine. And it is through this that he's able to gaslight enough people to start letting their guard down. It's like, maybe what I've been experiencing is just my experience, and it's not just everyone else's experience. In other words, he can say something long enough that it can start taking root in other ways. He'll start to see the points that are the best type of talking points and stick to those, even if the reality of what people are feeling is completely different than what he's saying.